Welcome everybody, my name is Andre, I'm a classical pianist, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about learning the Chopin Ballade in 30 days and what the results were. So I think that the first question that everybody's going to be asking is, well, did you do it? Did you do it? Did you do it? And the answer is, yes, I did. Now, one thing that everybody assumes whenever you say, oh, I'm going to learn this in 30 days, you see, there's no fine print when you make these videos. So when I started learning this, I knew in my head, I knew very well that that whatever I learned wasn't going to be polished. It wasn't going to be performance ready and memorized. That was not going to happen. Unless you're like a Juilliard student who's actively doing competitions, who does this every day for 8 hours or more, then yeah, by far. I mean, that you could probably do it in less than 30 days. But for us mortals, it's not, within our range. So 30 days, I would say, is pushing it. Everybody that I talked to was like, you're crazy, you're going to go insane. And honestly, like at around day 15, day 20, I was going nuts. But it went away after. Like once I started seeing the results play out, I thought it was pretty good. So yes, for the purpose of the video and everything, I didn't memorize the thing. I could play it if I wanted to for a lesson, but I wouldn't be able to perform it. It's not gonna happen. I mean, I wish I could, but it's not gonna happen. So the next thing that I want to talk about is some of the lessons that I picked up from this, because it's really a learning experience. It taught me a lot about my ability to play, my ability to learn music at a really fast pace. So I want to share some of these things with you guys because I believe that they're going to help other people who might be in a similar predicament, or who simply they're just curious, because learning a piece like this that's incredibly well known, especially I would say it's more well known in the piano community, because if you say, oh, I'm going to learn the Moonlight Sonata, I feel like everybody knows what the Moonlight Sonata is. Everybody knows what Für Elise is, Rondo alla Turca. But the Ballade, it's really only known to not necessarily connoisseurs, but it's known to the piano community in general, versus something like the Moonlight Sonata that's known to the public in general, right? So everybody's curious to see, oh, well, what did you learn? Is it hard? Can I do it? I'm going to try and answer most of these questions, so go ahead and stick around for that. Before we get started with the video, make sure that you like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So without further ado, enjoy. Question number 1. Did I learn it? I would think so. I mean, I could play the whole thing probably at like turtle speed or something, but I could do it. Realistically, if you told me, okay, could you play this for a lesson for me? Absolutely, 100%. And I would benefit that it's not like 100% ready, because I would be able to fix any mistakes, or, gain some insight into one or two sections where I might not have thought about. I've learned a lot within my 4 years my 5 years of my college experience, but it's very different, when you have somebody who's a more seasoned player, or a professor who's been doing this for so long that they already know, okay, watch out for here, do this, you're going to need to do that, and whatnot. Those types of tips, they always help. And I avoided completely watching any tutorials on this piece, because I know there's probably like 10,000 of them, and this video will probably get lost somewhere in there. But I wanted to avoid it because I needed to at least know if what I learned in these past 5 years was going to help me enough to get through a piece like this. Luckily, it did. So yeah, did I learn it? Absolutely. Question number 2, how hard is the piece? So everybody thinks that this piece is like the hardest piece in the world, and everybody assumes that because something sounds hard, it is hard. No, not really. Now, I want to preface by saying that this piece is not as hard as people think, but you have to be a seasoned player in order to be able to take on something like this. If you just started playing 2-3 months ago, no, you're going to get hurt. 2, reading the sheet music is not very easy. Sometimes you have some polyrhythms, which if you've never seen before, you're not gonna do very, very good with that. Another thing too is that this piece, it's a different kind of hard. I mean, it is hard in the sense where, you have to coordinate your hands. That's something that you have to do with all piano music. But with this, it's a different kind of hard, because you have to think about the large scale work. You have to think from beginning to end. Chopin is very clear about how he wants the phrases done. He pretty much, I don't think he writes phrases for everything, but almost everything has phrases. And you need to think about how your technique is going to work to help you bring out the melody and all of these other things that are incredibly important for piano playing. And like I said, it's not that hard if you've played, at least one Chopin etude that is of like medium hard difficulty. Now, I know that the Chopin etudes, they're not easy. But some are much easier than others. If you played something that's around like the level of the Revolutionary or like the Ocean Etude, that's going to be fine for anything that you're going to see in this piece. I would say that those etudes probably are a little bit harder than the Ballade in terms of technique-wise, but because this piece combines techniques from other pieces or just other things that Chopin likes to write. So is it hard? Not if you're experienced, but if you're, someone who's just starting out, don't do it. It's going to hurt you, honestly. Question number 3. What section was the hardest? Man, you know how everybody says, oh, the coda is the hardest, the coda is the hardest. You need to watch out for the coda. Honestly, no. The coda wasn't the hardest. Is it hard? Yes. Is it harder than most things that I've played? Absolutely. I had to practice that a lot. And even then, what really helped me was once I started memorizing it. Because whenever you have to be, playing, let's say you're playing, and then you have to be doing this a lot, where you have to look up and down to make sure that you're in the right place. That is just going to like obliterate you. You can't function that way unless you're so well coordinated by just looking at the score and you don't have to look at your hands. Unless you can do that, then I wouldn't say it's that bad. But the ballade, the coda is a little bit hard. But to me personally, it was not the hardest part. The hardest part to this day is the middle section in E, which I'll play right here for a second. Yeah, that section I practiced, man, like, I don't know. I probably put in more hours into that than the coda at the end. Just because it has a lot of volume, it has a lot of notes. There's some polyrhythms that you have to get in order. You need to be able to play them all at a equal beat, equal beat. What the heck is that? But basically, you need to be able to play it all uniformly. And yes, you can pull the time and stretch it out if you want for dramatic purposes. But for the most part, you want it to be a consistent, thing while you're playing it. And so I had to work and just work and work, and I tried different things. If you see my short videos, I actually did one where I basically just talked about how I was figuring that out, because it is just such a tricky little area. Well, it's just a pretty big area, but it's a tricky area to work in. And if you don't have experience playing this specific type of stuff where the motions are, where your left hand is playing chords and inversions and the right hand is doing octaves or whatever, it's going to throw you off. So to me personally, that was even harder than the coda. But the coda itself was hard, but just not as bad as the other one. Question number 4. Or I guess a statement that I want to make. One thing which, even though it's not a question, it's something that I want to talk about briefly, is the fact that Chopin and Liszt are very intelligent composers. Obviously they are. I mean, there's no denying it. They're both great in the ways that they write. But once you start to study the different works of both composers, you do realize that they have an understanding of the piano, of hand anatomy, and just composition to work for the player, but also to serve the composition. For example, somebody who I would say would be the antithesis to that would be Robert Schumann and Brahms. If you guys have ever played any kind of Schumann or Brahms, they write music in a weird way. Maybe Schubert as well. But for the most part, when they write, it's very uncomfortable. I would say Brahms is a little more uncomfortable than Schumann, but they write, and especially the way they write the notation, to serve the music more than to serve the player. And with Chopin and Liszt, even though, yes, they write for us, they write, to serve the composition, the way that they go about it is very intelligent. The way certain chords are positioned, they fit the hand. Even though you're playing like 5 or 6 notes on one hand, it still fits the hand really, really well. And it's very gratifying to play because a lot of things sound hard, especially with someone like Liszt or when it's a really hard Chopin piece. People tend to think, oh no, this sounds so hard. How are you going to do that? And the truth is that they understand this and they know this. And maybe, I don't know if this is like a what came first, the chicken or the egg situation, but I think it's a little bit of both. I think that Chopin and Liszt both had a very unique understanding of how the piano worked as an instrument. And because they wrote such a large output, or at least Liszt more than Chopin, but because their output was very refined and very well understood by what they were doing, they could write pieces that worked for the performer, but yet still sounded musical as if that was the original intent. So to me, that blows my mind. And honestly, I wasn't the one who came up with this, by the way. I'm not that kind of genius. My professor did, though. He told me, he's like, well, you know, Liszt has a way of composing where the technique that you play fits very well into the hand, and Chopin as well. Chopin was a pedagogue and he understood the way the hand worked, and he understood piano as in general. I mean, he wrote a few chamber pieces. If you've never heard them, go check them out. But he understood that and he worked with that. And honestly, thank you, Chopin. Thank you, Liszt. Now I'm going to talk about something that nobody likes to do, but everybody has to. One thing that made me being able to learn this at an incredible rate, at least for me, is being able to sight read. If you don't sight read, you're never going to be able to play any of these pieces. You could try and you know, learn the pieces one note at a time, and it'll take you like 12 hours a day just to learn one page. Or if you can sight read, you could just, in the very least, sight read one hand, and that's gonna take away like so much, like, you know, work off your hands. Being able to sight read, now granted, I am not a great sight reader. I know some people who are incredible sight readers. That's literally all they do. They don't even practice, they just sight read. I'm not like that. I like to struggle, but also I haven't had the chance to sight read recently, but I do. I need to get working on that, and so should you. But yes, sight reading is the key to learning very difficult repertoire. Think about it like, you know, driving an F1 car. F1 cars, they're fast, they are really, really hard to handle. But think of sight reading like being able to know the map very, very well. One thing is, you know, if you give somebody like Checo Perez, which, you know, fan here, but anyways, if you give someone like him a brand new car he's never tried out, but you give him a track that he already knows, or that he at least can see very well where he's going, but mostly knows, he's going to be able to get better results than if he has a car that he already has, that he's already used, but in a track that he's never been on, right? At least that's the way I see it. I love F1 because my dad likes it, but honestly, I don't know too much about it. But that's the best analogy I could think of, so do with it as you can. Go sight read. Point number 6. So what can you do if you want to learn this piece too? Just give up. No, I'm kidding. No, don't give up. But look, if you want to learn a piece like this, think about it like preparing for a marathon, okay? I'll give you this and then I'll give you the actual thing on what to do. But think about it like this. If you've never ran in your life before, if you're the kind of person who lives a sedentary lifestyle and then suddenly you discover that, oh, I like the idea of running a marathon, you would say, okay, so I'm gonna go run a marathon. And let's say you try and go run for this marathon. Maybe you do 1 mile, 2 miles, maybe, and then by that point you pass out because you've never trained before. That's what learning a piece like this is like. The Ballade in a way is like a marathon. I mean, it's kind of like a combination of sprinting and marathon, but think about it like a marathon. If you've never had any sort of training, any type of strength and conditioning, trying to do a piece like this is just gonna destroy you. I mean, if you haven't put in the time practicing, if you haven't had at least like 2 years of lessons consistently, you bring in your best work, you practice. Yeah, I'm not saying you have to be like a prodigy. I don't want to discourage anybody. If anything, I want to encourage you to practice. If you really want to do something like this, wanting to do it is like 50% of the battle, but putting in the work is the other 50. Maybe I would say it's more like 25. And then putting in the work is the 75. If you can put in the work, over time you're gonna notice that you're getting better. It's gonna motivate you to want to keep learning. And eventually you're going to get to your goal without, you know, much of a hurdle. So I would say you do need to train. You do need to at least have some experience playing for at least maybe 2 years. Because I remember being asked in the comments of my videos, how can I learn this piece if I just started out learning a couple months ago? And I answered them, charitably saying, you can't. Because if I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm so good and I'm, this great guy. I'm really not. I'm like, not bottom tier, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to learn and trying to get better at this. But if you don't have experience doing this, then it's going to be like running a marathon. You're going to pass out and yeah, it's going to be bad. So what I recommend doing is if you want to play something like this, if you want to play any of the super hard pieces, the scherzos, the etudes, the polonaises. By the way, not all the polonaises are like the heroic polonaise where they're super, bombastic and everything. There's some that are at a like intermediate level and they're really, really nice. So go check those out. But if you want to play anything of this, my recommendation is this. Start out with smaller pieces from Chopin. And I say this because the smaller pieces, believe it or not, Chopin, he's very intentional about how he writes, as I've already said. And a lot of the techniques that he would probably use in like an etude or something, he might do them on a prelude. He might do them on, some nocturnes or something. So my recommendation is study easier pieces from that composer, at least for like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 pieces of like medium to easy level. If they're at easy level, do more. If they're in an intermediate level, do maybe less. But study a good amount, maybe like 4 or 5, so that you can develop an understanding of how he composes, the different techniques that he likes to use as a composer. And that's going to help you to kind of build a vocabulary for playing the ballade. Now, quick disclaimer, I haven't played a whole lot of Chopin. I've played maybe an etude, maybe a nocturne, and maybe a prelude. Now, granted, I have more experience playing Liszt, I have some experience playing Prokofiev, so the Ballade in and of itself it was kind of a combination of all things, and if anything, I still need to refine my musicianship into understanding the interpretive side of playing the Ballade, because I feel like if I play it for you guys, it's just going to be like a cardboard, like nasty version. So I'm not going to play it yet. I want to wait. I want to refine it. And then maybe I'll upload something that's a little more dignified. I was thinking about uploading like the end result. And at the time, because I was so like enthusiastic, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's going to sound great. Realistically, it doesn't. But, it is what it is. Basically, I'll upload something eventually. But yes, work on stuff that's easier from that same composer. And that goes for other composers like Liszt. Liszt is a little bit harder just because he didn't write a whole lot of, beginner, intermediate music. But if you can start with some of his easier advanced music, it's definitely going to help you to understand the type of composer that he is. And that goes same for everything. Whether it's Mozart, Beethoven, start out with the easier stuff so that you get an understanding of his creativity. And then by having that, you can then, build the strength and the conditioning for tackling on bigger things, right? So that's my tip for you guys. As a closing statement, I do want to thank every single one of you guys, because without you guys following me and, motivating me to keep doing this, it definitely helps me to know that other people are watching the stuff that I make, even if it's the shorts and not the long videos. It doesn't matter. But I want to thank you guys for, helping me out, for impulsing me into to keep going, because it's been hard. It's not an easy thing because, I have a day job. We all have jobs. It's really difficult to do some of these things when you have a full schedule. And when you have relationships, it adds more to your plate. So thank you to each and every one of you guys who supported me, who's liked my videos, who's gave me a comment. Whether it's a good or a bad one, I'll take it, honestly. But yes, thank you so much for watching. And I'm hoping that I can make a new video. I'm thinking about I think I'm going to end up learning the 3rd Beethoven Concerto. I might do a 30-day challenge on that. I might not. We'll see. I have no idea yet. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep refining. I'm going to keep working and look out for more videos. So I'll see you guys later.